Hello, it's Luke Michael Howard, Ph.D. and clinical hypnotist here from Hypnosis, and today's video is really for the smokers out there, and it's the question I have, and it's the name of this video is nicotine addictive? Physically, is it physically addictive? Think about it. Now I know most of you out there will think, well, of course it's physically addicted, otherwise I'd just stop. You'd be wrong. And I'm now going to take a few minutes to explain why you're wrong and why it's not physically addictive to you. See, about 10 years ago, the AMA, American Medical Association, they got together the best doctors, the best neurosurgeons, the best addiction specialists, psychiatrists in the world. They threw tens of millions of dollars at this project, and it was simply to find if nicotine was physically addictive onto your system. And after 10 years of research, a big heavy paper that you can probably find online somewhere, it's about 657 pages if you want to read it, best minds in the world researching it, you know what they concluded? That nicotine is not physically addictive. Now, interesting, then you say to yourself, well, why am I keep smoking? Well, keep watching the video. So your cigarette has about 2,500 ingredients in it. About 67 of those are proven to cause cancer. Now, with an addictive substance that somebody uses in their life, you need to keep up in the dosage to get the same effect. Hence, the alcoholic is drinking far more beverages, far more units of alcohol now than when he first started or when she started. The same with the heroin addict. The heroin addict isn't on the same level of heroin now as they were when they first started because they had to keep up and up and up in the dosages. Now, what tends to happen with smokers is a smoker doesn't tend to go from 1 packet a day to 2 packets a day to 4 packets a day to 8 packets a day. They generally find their level and they level out. That might be 1, that might be 2 packet. But then they pretty much have a holding pattern of smoking that same amount throughout their smoking career. But they don't have to smoke more and more and more once they've leveled out to get that same high. It's another reason why smoking isn't physically addictive. Now, basically, if smoking was physically addictive, then people who work in areas that are filled with smoke, like in Las Vegas that I recently came back to, people who work in bars, people who work in clubs, the casinos, these types of environment where smoke is present. For some of these people who don't smoke, what would happen is, and what does happen oftentimes with them, is they get lung cancer. They actually get cancer through working in these areas and passively smoking through years and years and years of this. They die, but they still don't smoke. The passive smoker still doesn't smoke, but they catch lung cancer before they smoke. Doesn't that seem ridiculous? Because if it was addictive, they'd actually got 10, 20 years working in this casino or bar environment. They'd be smelling those Marlboro lights, and if it was physically addictive, they'd just come over to you and be like, "Wow, is that Marlboro lights? Can I score some of those off you?" No, they don't smoke. In fact, their system would rather give them cancer and make them die. It does that before they become physically addictive. And I ask you as a smoker, when was the last time that you woke up at 2:37 a.m. and your body is shaking uncontrollably and you are foaming at your mouth and you're willing to kill your most beloved person next to you in order to get a hit of your drug, to get a hit of that cigarette? Now, you might wake up and you might go to the washroom and you might say to yourself, you know what, I think I'd like a little cigarette to go with this. You might do that, but you don't have an uncontrollable urge in your body where you foam and there's a chemical reaction in your body that you have to have it. It doesn't happen. If it was physically addictive, you wouldn't be able to go 8 hours when you sleep without smoking. Yeah, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you might choose to do is have a smoke, and it might make you feel better emotionally. But if you were really physically addictive, you'd have to get up every couple of hours to smoke a cigarette, not because you're already up. Now, when was the last time you went 2, 3, 4, 8 hours when you were awake and you didn't have a cigarette? Now, yeah, you might say, well, yeah, I got really angry, I got really annoyed. Yeah, you got emotionally annoyed, you got emotionally angry, you got frustrated perhaps, because you used to do that and you used to help you to control your emotions on some level. I get that, but is it physically addictive? Are you going to go into spasms? No. I get alcoholics that come and see me, alcoholics that are to the level where their actual medical doctor says to them, if you stop drinking alcohol cold turkey, you could die. So they have to be weaned off alcohol. You can stop smoking cigarettes like that. I've seen thousands of people do it. In fact, I've helped thousands of people doing it for over 20 years now. I'm not saying it's necessarily easy to quit smoking, but what I'm saying is completely emotional. Am I discounting what you go through with all those emotions when you stop? No, it can still be really, really hard. I get it. I really get it, because I've seen so many smokers doing this. But is it physically addictive in your system? No, not at all. In fact, here's something I want to say to you. Children smoke. Adults don't smoke. I'm going to say that again. Children smoke. Adults don't smoke. When was the very first cigarette you ever had? The very first puff ever? Now, if you're like 98% of the people I met, their very first puff, it doesn't mean they started chain smoking, but their very first puff, their very first cigarette tends to be in their teen years. Tends to be in their teen years. Because you see, smoking is a habit that children do. If you're watching this video now and you're a smoker and you're an adult over the age of 25, with the mind and intellect and maturity you have now, do you really think with this mind, with your maturity, with your experience that you've had to this point, that if this brain was in that teenager or perhaps younger adult, if that brain was in their body, do you think you would choose to smoke? No, you wouldn't. Because smoking is something that children do. Adults don't do it. They just end up getting caught with it. See, another reason that smoking is not physically addictive. In 20 years of helping people quit smoking, again, over 1,000 people, I don't say that to impress you, I say that to impress upon you that I know what I'm talking about, okay? I've never met one person who started smoking after the age of 25. Again, they didn't have a puff or any cigarettes at all, but they had no cigarettes. Then after the age of 25, they're like, this seems like a good idea, I'm going to start smoking now. And they do that. Never met one person who did that. I've met an alcoholic who never had a drink, many, until the age of 25, and they became alcoholics. I met heroin addicts that never had a shot of heroin until after 25, then they became addicted. I met people that were addicted to cocaine that had never had a snort of cocaine until the age of 25, then they got addicted to it. I'm yet to find one smoker who started to smoke after the age of 25, because it doesn't happen. See, there's an invested interest in you to keep smoking. Not a lot of people realise this, but a lot of the companies, when you research them, that own that own cigarettes, the cigarette companies actually own a lot of the smoking patch companies, the inhaler, the e-cigarette companies, and the nicotine replacement. Oftentimes, a lot of those companies that are trying to get you off cigarettes, right, are actually the same company that got you addicted. So if they can't get your money this way, they'll get your money this way. And you've got to think about, how did you get addicted to smoking, mentally addicted? Well, if you're like most people, not everyone, but about 95% of the people I meet, they start smoking simply because it was the cool thing to do at school. Perhaps your friends were doing it at school, you wanted to fit in, you started smoking, it was the in thing to do. Perhaps if you were born in the 60s, when they still could have commercials on TV about how cool it was to smoke, and you'd see the cowboy walking around with his lovely hat smoking, it was the cool thing to do. You were already hypnotized to start to smoke, whether it was by the media, commercials, advertisements, or whether it was by society, your friends, unconsciously. So we're going to use hypnosis and turn it around. In fact, I'm going to help you de-hypnotize you, so you just won't want to do it anymore. It's almost like if you watch the other video, instead of attracting it into your life like that, what actually starts to happen is after I work together, it starts to repel. So as hard as you try, they just won't come together. You can't do that habit anymore. So that's what we're going to do when it comes to your smoking addiction, at least mental addiction. Let's clear that up. Mental addiction, sure, still tough, I'm going to help you deal with it. Physical addiction, no, it's not. I've been Luke Michael Howard, Ph.D. clinical hypnotist. Always believe.